John likes tech and lives in Indiana, you know. Kevin likes the Dodgers and talks on the radio. John plays games on Xbox and on his Nintendo, while Kevin runs around LA with his mustachio. It's the Lack of Genius podcast, in your ear holes at last. They don't know they're Mars from Venus, that's why it's the Lack of Genius podcast. Hey John.
Hey Kevin.
You ever notice that I'm always the first one to talk on here?
Yeah, I think it's because you're the radio person.
I was like, what's that about? Am I hogging the mic?
No.
As long
you're just a professional.
We'll throw people off one of these days and have you come in with a vengeance.
Yeah, we might. I mean, it's also kind of weird in the fact that we don't have a guest on with us this week. It's the first week in a couple of weeks where we don't have a guest.
Yeah, we've had back-to-back guests with Greg, who did we quizzed him on Frisbee, and then we had your sister, Dr. Documentary, and she quizzed us about documentaries, and now it's just you and me.
Yeah.
So
that changes next week, so.
That does change next week. We'll get into that. I am very excited about next week. But this is our first sort of impromptu episode where we decided during last week's episode that we're going to do this. It's the second time that we're taking something from the theme song.
It is.
The first time was John plays games on Xbox and Kevin likes the Dodgers. So we quizzed each other on those two subjects. Today we are taking this line. They don't know they're Mars from Venus. Look, I got it. They don't know they're Mars from Venus because a friend of the podcast, Shannon Rios, her little 5-year-old son sent us a little clip of him singing, which I have here. Might as well play this too.
It's the Lack of Genius podcast, and your ear will class. They don't know what Mars and Venus are made out of. It's the Lack of Genius podcast.
Which it's cuter every time, but
it is.
He adds some words to that, and he says instead of saying they don't know they're Mars from Venus, he says they don't know what Mars and Venus are made out of. And it got me thinking. I was like, well, I don't really know. And this is an opportunity, John, where I remember when I wrote this line for the song, I was hesitant because I do know my Mars from Venus, right? I know where Mars is. I know where Venus is. I know a little bit about both.
Do you?
Well, this is what we're going to prove. I think my goal is that we're disproving the theme song today. We're proving that we do know our Mars from our Venus, but we may just prove that we don't know our Mars from our Venus.
We'll just have to wait and see.
So John is going to quiz me on Mars, and I have prepared a quiz on Venus to quiz John on. You can take these quizzes at lackofgenius.com to play along. But before we get into the quiz, we always get into our Tidy Up section. Tidy up before we go any further with the show. Tidy up before we go fix our mistakes tonight. I wanna get it right. Tidy up. We had a kind of slow week in terms of Tidy Up, didn't we, John?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't get any new patrons this week.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
Yeah.
No one emailed or wrote us or anything like that, so.
Maybe no news is good news. We're not getting any hate, so that's a good thing. And we are on Patreon, friendly plug, and we're so grateful to all of our patrons. It's really been a cool little gift to see people who care and are willing to put up a little bit of money to show that. So thank you.
Yeah.
The one Tidy Up I do have, your sister last week, Julia, who I called Dr. Documentary, was talking about cinema verite, and we talked about how verite, by the way, I watched that movie. She mentioned that there's a 2011 movie that features the Loud family. It was the PBS's documentary series called An American Family. The movie was very good. It made me want to dig in even more. So cinema verite on HBO, I suggest watching it. But we established that verite means truth, and then I kind of was like, well, does cinema technically mean movie? And she didn't know. She was like, I should know that, but tidy up for next week, so I'm honoring that. I did look up the word cinema. It is a French word, but it comes from the French word that I don't know how to pronounce. It looks like cinématographe. Cinematography. It's probably cinematography is what it is, but it looks...
With a French accent.
Yeah, cinematography. That's my best French accent. And that comes from the Greek word, it's spelled with a K, so I believe it's pronounced kinema. And kinema, that makes sense, means movement, like kinetic. So movement. So that's why the word cinema exists, because it's moving images in front of yours, which I think is very interesting.
Yeah. The other thing is, we kind of have our first ad this week. I mean, it's going to be like a one-time thing. We haven't sold out or anything.
In fact, we have not made a dime off of this quote-unquote ad that we have, right?
Right. We have not.
It's not. This isn't an ad that benefits us. Yeah, stick around. Don't be like, oh, there's an ad, I'm leaving. This has a good story to it.
So, I grew up in Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts, and I know you did too.
Yes, I did.
So my son has started doing Cub Scouts.
I just met your son via the Skype cam here, and you guys you were working on a Cub Scout project now, which was awesome to see.
Yep, we're working on a Cub Scout project. He's making a bottle rocket out of pop bottles.
Yep. That's soda for those of you not in the Midwest.
Yes. Or Coke bottles for those in the South.
There you go.
But he's also selling popcorn.
Yes.
And, it's gone a long ways. They've gotten much more advanced since we did it. You can actually buy the popcorn online now. Mm-hmm. And so I figured, to help him out, sell that popcorn, we had him create a little ad. We worked together on it. We came up with the words together. He read it all. If you want to help support, then click on the link in the show notes, and that'll take you to his page where you can buy the popcorn.
I have purchased some popcorn. It's on the way. It tells you exactly how much of that money is going to the Boy Scouts as opposed to like shipping or whatever. So it's very satisfying to be like, yeah, I'm really supporting Jacob and his Cub Scout troop. So yeah, man, without further ado, should we just jump into our first ever ad, courtesy of Jacob?
Let's do it.
Hi everyone, my name is Jacob, and I am in Cub Scouts. I'm currently selling popcorn to help raise money for my pack. This money helps us earn rewards and to do fun things like camping and learning about the outdoors. I would really appreciate it if you could click on the link in the show notes and take a look at what we have. Bye, and thank you to everyone that helps.
It's time to take a quiz or two. Like a genius podcast doing this for you. You may fail, but it ain't no lie, baby, it's quiz time. Don't really want this quiz to be tough. I just wanna pass one cause I failed enough. It might sound crazy, but it ain't no lie, baby, it's quiz time.
It is quiz time, first of all. That is accurate.
Yeah, it
but
is.
Secondly, I can't wait for my popcorn to show up. And I'm very proud of Jacob on his... In fact, I know that Cub Scouts don't actually get merit badges, but he should earn his media merit badge because of his telecommunication efforts.
I know when we were recording it last night, we did a couple takes, and then he wanted to do another one. And he told me to wait before I hit the record button because he couldn't stop smiling. Because he was having fun. He was having fun doing it. Like, he knows that you and we do this podcast. He knows I enjoy it and everything, and so I think this was kind of his way of getting to experience it a little.
That's cool. He got to do what Dad and his friend in California do.
Yep.
You know what's funny too is when I first started on air. I mean, I kind of have this still in the back of my head, but one of the things I would literally tell myself before I turned on the mic is I would smile, or I would think of something funny to kind of have this like a more positive tone. So next time say, yeah, no, you should just record it because you're smiling. It'll come with time. He's learning.
Yep.
That's great. That makes me very happy. All right. Well, thanks again for that, John and Jacob, and for anyone who decides to support. And quiz time. So you have a quiz prepared for me on Mars. I have one on Venus. You decided before the episode, and I agreed that you should ask the first question because in the song it says Mars first. So that makes total sense to me. In fact, here's proof. They don't know they're Mars from Venus. So let's jump in.
Yeah. So I started the quiz this week with, I think, a quiz first for us.
What is that?
It has more than 4 choices.
Oh my gosh. Wow. My odds just decreased significantly.
It did.
Okay. Well, let's hear what it is. Lack of genius history.
Yeah. What day of the week is named after Mars?
I see, because there's 7 days in the week. Are you going to read all the choices, or should we just assume that everybody knows the 7 days of the week?
We'll go ahead and read it just in case someone doesn't. They are Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
And if you were to sing those in a song, what kind of melody would that be?
I think it would be something about happy days.
Monday, Tuesday. Oh yeah, happy days. Monday, Tuesday, happy day. That's even better. I don't know the answer to this. I don't know it. I mean, look, off the bat, Monday comes to mind because it starts with an M, but I think that's too Let me think about this. Is there any other logic that I can put to this answer right now? Because it's just not a pre-established fact in my head. It's just a shot in the dark. I can't think of any. Wow. Okay, well, at this point, because Monday is the only thing that has logic, and because I can't think of, I'd hate for it to be Monday and then know that I took a 1 out of 7 shot rather than going with something that I at least had some establishment with. So I'm just going to choose Monday. I don't feel great about it, but I'm locking it in.
Incorrect.
So what is it?
Let me ask you a question, Kevin.
Yes.
In high school or even now, did you take a foreign language?
I did. I took Spanish.
And do you remember what Spanish is for Tuesday?
Martes. Lunes, martes for Tuesday. It's Tuesday, isn't it?
It is.
Wow.
And in French, it's Mardi, and like M-A-R-D-I. English is the one that's different.
Mardi Gras, Fat Tuesday. Duh, that's what Mardi Gras means. I just put that together right now.
But English is different, obviously. It's Tuesday.
Tuesday is Tuesday for...
Doesn't even sound like anything else.
No, what's that about?
Here's the interesting thing. Sunday, obviously, named after the sun. It's the day of the sun.
Day of the sun.
Monday is the day of the moon.
Lunes in Espanol.
What's Wednesday in Spanish?
Miércoles, I think. Lunes, martes, miércoles.
So, starting with Tuesday through Friday are actually more... it's English. I mean, it doesn't relate to the rest of European languages in general. But they are named after the Norse gods. Tuesday is Tyr's Day. Wednesday is Odin's Day. Thursday is Thor's Day. And Friday is Freya's Day.
Freya's Day. Wednesday is Odin's Day. Oh, because Wednesday. Odin's Day.
Yeah. Or Woden, which is another name for Odin.
Woden. Wow. I'm learning so much, John.
Yeah, so Tuesday, or Tyr's Day, Tyr was one of the Norse gods of war.
Okay.
Do you know what Mars was the god of?
I'm guessing war.
It was, yeah. And so I don't know if this is cultures kind of did this completely separate in the past, or if it's more of a modern thing with everyone getting kind of on the same, 7 days in a week and things like that. But if you go and look up Tuesday, I just told you where the English version comes from. And the Spanish and French and the Latin all come from Mars. But other cultures, the third day of the week is named after a god of war.
Wait, Tuesday is technically our third day of the week, right? Because Sunday's first. So it's just that seems to be a common thread for whatever reason. I'm fascinated. All right, man. Well, I'm 0 for 1. Let's hop into, so I had a 1 in 7 shot of getting this right. You now have a 50-50 shot of getting number 1 right. So I'm calling this bogus already. I jumped right in with a true or false here. True or false, John? Venus has no moons.
I'm trying to remember this because I've taken astronomy classes. If memory serves, I earned my astronomy merit badge.
Ooh, you can't let the Boy Scouts down now
right?
by missing this.
I'm just trying to remember if there were any planets that didn't have a moon. I'm going to go with false. I don't think Mercury has a moon, but I think Venus does.
Choosing false. Are you locking it in?
I am.
That is incorrect.
No.
It was true. Venus has no moons. You were right about Mercury as well. Mercury and Venus are the only 2 planets in our solar system that do not have moons. I got swept up in all kinds of fascinating stuff learning about this, but there is a theory that Venus at one time did have at least a moon and maybe even 2 moons. I didn't even know this is, I believe this is how all moons form. Venus was hit by some kind of large body, like I don't know if it's another planet or a giant, like billions of years ago. And this is how at least they theorized that Earth's moon formed, is that it was hit by a giant mass, and then in orbit went all this material from that mass, and then it coalesced together to form the moon.
Right.
So the same theory is true of Venus, that at one point that happened, and it caused Venus to spin in an opposite direction. So Venus is the only planet that if you're looking from the North Pole, it spins clockwise. Every other planet spins counterclockwise. And so the theory was that at some point it got hit by this massive body, probably formed a moon, spinned its rotation, changed the rotation, and then the moon slowly, over billions of years, pulled away from Venus and is no longer there. Which, fun fact, apparently our moon is slowly moving away from us. I did not know that. It's not going to happen anywhere near our lifetime. But anyways, I found that very interesting. We're both 0 for 1, so good start for us. They don't know they're Mars from Venus.
So, since you brought up moons,
Yes.
or the lack thereof, I figured I'd have a moon question as well.
Okay,
So, Mars actually has 2 moons. So, I guess they kind of make up for Venus. So, Phobos is one of Mars's 2 moons. What is the other one called? Deimos, Moon, Europa, or Chiron?
I love moon, and I love that our moon is just called the moon. Our moon doesn't have a name, right? It's just called the moon.
Luna. Or Luna.
I mean, is that its actual name? That's why. Okay, so that's why it's called the lunar mission. I never put that together. Maybe people do know that commonly, and I'm just an idiot. But it's like, I wish it was known as Luna instead of the moon more frequently. I am glad that you asked this question and not like how many moons does Mars have, because while I was researching, I accidentally saw that Mars has 2 moons. I guess I could have told you about that, but I wanted to cheat if I got the chance. I did not see the names, so I'm not really sure, but I am leaning towards the first option, which is it Deimos? Is that how you pronounce it?
That's how I pronounce it.
That's how you pronounce it, Deimos. I'm going to go with my gut, my instinct, my first choice, and say Deimos and lock it in.
You are correct.
Yeah! Woo!
And so, if people haven't realized this, a lot of our names for the planets and moons go together. And they're based off of Greek and Roman mythology in general. Do you remember what the Greek equivalent of Mars is? What the Greek god of war's name is?
Nope, totally forgot.
Ares.
Ares, yes, thank you.
Yeah.
That's a very common crossword puzzle clue that I always miss, so now I'm going to remember it.
And Ares had twins.
Okay.
Phobos and Deimos.
I love it. That's cute.
So since Mars had 2 moons, someone in the past decided to call them Phobos and Deimos.
So brilliant. I love that. Yep. I love it. I love it.
And sometimes scientists have a very, very dark and funny sense of humor.
Oh, yeah?
So, we've got Jupiter, right? And we send probes out in space and everything. And one of the last probes that NASA sent, I think it was NASA, sent to Jupiter was called Hera. And Hera was the wife of Jupiter. And so basically we sent Jupiter's wife to check on her.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's great. I love it. Scientists, astronomers, whoever is doing that, you guys are very clever. Good job. All right. Well, I got one. I'm 1 for 2. You ready for number 2 on Venus?
Yeah.
This is less to do about the planet and more with pop culture. Which of the following is not an actual movie about aliens from Venus? You have 4 choices here. Is it Queen of Outer Space, What Came From Above, Zontar, the Thing from Venus, or It Conquered the World? So basically 3 of these are real movies about an alien from Venus, and 1 is totally made up.
Okay, I was just going to ask, is, the 4th one
An actual
a real movie, but it's not based about Venus, or is it just completely made up?
Yeah, I figured I'd give you that clue. 1 of these I totally made up. The other 3 are totally true.
I'm going to go with Zontar, the Thing from Venus.
You think that's the incorrect one? That's the one that I made up?
I think so.
You locking it in?
I am.
That's incorrect.
Oh.
That is the movie that inspired this answer because it sounded so bizarre that I was like, that sounds made up. That sounds fit. Nope, it's real. In fact, Zontar is a remake of It Conquered the World. So It Conquered the World came out in 1956. It had this monster from Venus who looked like a cone. It's like a little cone with an evil face. In fact, you watch Power Rangers, right? We're the same age.
Yeah.
It looked like one of the monsters from Power Rangers. It's incredible. And then 10 years later, they remade it into Zontar. And I went on Zontar, the Thing from Venus specifically. It was a made-for-TV movie. I went and looked at some clips of it, and it not surprisingly, it did not look like it was worth the watch. But it was fun to at least watch the clips and see the bad guys. And then Queen of Outer Space is also an actual movie that starred Zsa Zsa Gabor. The one that I made up was What Came From Above, which doesn't have a lot of flash to it. And yeah, there you go. Movies about Venus. I mean, I don't think I'm going to watch any of them, but at least now I know they exist.
Well, you're right. You mentioned this kind of when we started talking about the topic earlier about what they're made out of, the planets.
Yes. Because Felix said they don't know what Mars and Venus are made out of.
They don't know what Mars and Venus are made out of.
Why is Mars red?
Oh, here we go. Here we go. Okay, what are my choices?
The blood of our enemies. Iron oxide.
Oh my gosh.
Reflection of the atmosphere.
Uh-huh.
Or neon lights.
Neon lights. Blood of our enemies is hilarious. And it's even more hilarious to think that the blood of our enemies here on Earth or in America, however you want to look at it, would be on Mars. I'm pretty sure I know the answer to this one.
Do you?
Well, if it's the blood of our enemies, I'm going to be very upset because then I clearly don't know the answer. I think I previously would have thought it was reflection of the atmosphere. And maybe it is. Maybe that's right. But I do think it's iron oxide because when iron, I know when metals rust, when iron gets oxidated or something like that, it turns red, when it rusts. So I believe that is why most of the surface is red because it's made out of iron oxide, something along those lines. So that's what I'm going to choose. I'm going to lock in iron oxide.
Correct. Yeah, it's iron oxide or like you're saying, rust. There's just a lot of it.
It's basically just a planet full of rust on the surface.
There's rust, there's water, there's ice.
Yeah, because there is moisture. The only reason it's red is because there's moisture on the planet that can get the iron wet, and then that is a lot of iron if you think about it.
It is. I mean, and Mars does have an atmosphere, mainly CO2, but there is an atmosphere. So
yeah, I mean, we know this because Mark Watney landed there and got stranded there for several days. Do you know who that is?
The Martian.
Yes. Okay, good. That turns out that was fictional. When I watched the movie, if you don't know it, watch the movie The Martian. That's the main character. He got stuck there for more than several days. He was there forever. That movie plays like it's based on a true story.
Yeah. I mean, if you haven't read the book, honestly, the audio version works quite well.
Oh.
One, it's read by Will Wheaton.
Oh, really? That's great. From Star Trek and etc.
So half the book, or a good chunk of the book, is basically just his logs. So him writing them out or, reading them out or whatnot.
Yeah.
And then the other half, like the part that's taking place on Earth, is just a story. So it almost acts as like it's an audio log.
Which is cool because in the movie we see him doing the video logs, and that's kind of the way he talks to the audience. And
yeah, I mean, and there are differences between the book and the movie, but I think the differences, like the changes they made in the movie, are pretty good. So
they were worthwhile. Well, now I'm going to read the book. Gosh dang it. You just made me a reader or an audio tape listener. All right. So that puts me at 2 for 3, and you are 0 for 2, stepping into your third question about Venus. Okay, the question is, Venus rotates at an extremely low rate. Is one full rotation of Venus more or less than 200 Earth days? We know that Earth takes 24 of our Earth hours to spin, to make one rotation. Does it take Venus more than 200 of those or less than 200 of those to make one rotation?
It's funny you ask this because I have a very similar question about Mars.
Oh, how funny. It's our first more or less answer, greater than or less than if you'd like. And again, we're trying to prove
they don't know they're Mars from Venus,
whether that's true or not.
I am going to say more than. No, actually, less than.
You're going to say less than 200 days for one full spin of Venus. Locking it in?
Yeah. Yep.
It's incorrect. Sorry, babe. It's more. I'm sorry. You chose the wrong one. 243 Earth days to spin. Again, it takes 24 hours for Earth. It takes 5,832 for Venus to spin one time. And this blew my mind. A day in Venus is actually longer than a year on Venus. So the time it takes Venus to go one full rotation around the sun, it still hasn't completed one full spin on its axis. So a year, it's like on Earth, we can't even fathom that idea.
Right.
It's just a year is a long thing and a day is short, but not on Venus. It's quite the opposite. It is, and it is, by the way, the slowest spinning planet in our solar system. So no planet spins slower. And I think there's some theory about this massive body that may have hit Venus years ago that slowed down the spin. That there's some theory that's related.
So here's my question about days.
Yeah,
and it's true or false.
Ooh,
a day on Mars is almost the same length as a day on Earth.
That's super interesting. So basically, the question being, one rotation of Mars, is it the same as one rotation of Earth? About the same. And I get it. It's maybe a little more, a little less. It could be a really fast spinner or it could be a really slow spinner. Part of me wants to assume that it would be about the same only because, we talk about how Mars is technically, it could be inhabitable. That means you can inhabit it. Yeah, inhabitable. I know that's also because of the moisture and that it has an atmosphere. But look, Mars and Earth are very similar, I know. So I'm gonna kind of play it safe and just say true that yeah, their day is about the same. I'm choosing true.
Correct.
Ooh.
It's within an hour of being the same. I think it's like 30 or 40 minutes longer.
That's pretty impressive.
A year, though, is about double.
No way. So the distance from one planet to the next makes it so that it's a whole 365 days more, approximately.
Yep.
Do you know if most planets spin at the rate that Mars and Earth spin? I don't know that. I didn't look that up.
I don't think so.
Yeah, or if it just happens that their size sort of makes it that way.
Well, I mean, and size-wise, Mars is about, I think, half the size of Earth.
Oh, is it really smaller? Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh
yeah,
my gosh.
Yeah.
I was definitely going to like factually say, I know Mars is bigger than Earth.
No, I believe it's smaller.
Yeah, I know Mercury is tiny. I know Earth and Venus are approximately the same size. I always thought Mars was bigger.
No, it's actually the second smallest in the solar system.
No way. Is Pluto still in our solar system, by the way?
It is still in our solar system, but it is technically not a planet.
Okay, so when you say Mars is the second smallest, that doesn't include Pluto?
Correct.
So Mercury is the smallest, and then Mars, and then I think Venus is a little smaller than Earth. I can't remember. I would guess that's maybe the order, though I don't know about... No, Uranus is pretty big. I couldn't even get the sentence out. I wasn't even trying to make a joke, and I couldn't get the sentence out. Uranus is quite large, is all I know. All right, are you ready? Are you ready for number 4?
I am.
You got to get one here. I think I'm already 3 for 4, right?
You are.
I think I already won, didn't I?
You did.
Wow. Okay, well, make it respectable, John. Come on. Okay, Venus, here as I was talking about earlier, Venus, the Roman goddess who the planet is named after, is the goddess of love and blank. Is it love and affection, love and peace, love and beauty, or love and lust?
I'm going to go with beauty. Okay. And that's only because I also remember that Venus is the Roman version of Aphrodite. And Aphrodite is the goddess of love and beauty.
Oh.
So I'm going with beauty.
Locking in beauty?
I am.
That's correct, John. Well done. I had a feeling you were gonna. You know your Roman gods. I don't have a lot of information on this, but I do know that Venus is the only planet in our solar system, at least, the only planet that is named after a female god. Do you have any other cool facts about this? I've never been into Roman and Greek mythology. Just not something that my mind has wandered to, so I don't have a whole lot to say.
I mean, I took a mythology class at Ball State. Like I had to just take a class like that, which I enjoyed. I really enjoy Norse mythology more, but I think a lot of my Greek and Roman mythology knowledge, for better or worse, comes from like the show Hercules and Xena and stuff like that.
Yeah, so you watched the one with Kevin Sorbo back in the day in the 90s?
I did.
Yeah,
yep.
Nice. It's been instilled in you.
It has.
I guess it paid off here. All right, well, we each have one question to go. I'm 3 for 4, you're 1 for 4. Let's see how this finishes out.
Yeah. So what is the name of the newest American rover on Mars? Spirit, Sojourner, Opportunity, or Perseverance?
Those are all great words.
And they're all rovers.
Yeah, okay. Spirit, oh my gosh, what a beautiful opportunity. Perseverance is a big, wow. Just amazing traits to have as human beings and apparently also as rovers that go to Mars. I'll tell you right now that Spirit jumped out to me. But as the choices continued to be read, Perseverance presented itself, started flashing lights at me. Because I was funny. I was just talking about this. I'm not on social media. That's been the last year I haven't been on at all, and I've been pretty out of the loop in terms of like news stuff. I don't read a newspaper. I don't go out of my way to look up news stories, and as a result, I feel like I'm out of touch a little bit. But I do have some memory of hearing the word Spirit and Perseverance related to Mars. Just because I like the word so much, I'm gonna choose Perseverance, and I'm gonna lock it in.
Correct.
Woohoo! I remembered something right.
Yeah, Perseverance landed on Mars last year.
Okay.
And it had a special payload that other rovers hadn't had yet. Mm-hmm. And it had a helicopter.
No.
A drone.
Yeah. Like a little, I mean, it was a helicopter. It was like a little drone almost, probably.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. And so it's actually been able to fly and take aerial pictures and stuff.
Oh, and that's pretty, I mean, that's the advantage of having an atmosphere is you can be like, well, we can sustain things within there.
Yeah. I mean, well, and it wasn't quite sure how well it would fly just because, yes, there is an atmosphere, but it's a very thin atmosphere.
Gotcha.
And so in order for helicopters to work, you got to have air movement.
You know why the atmosphere is so thin is because they don't have industry like we do on Earth, making the atmosphere thicker by the second with smog.
Which is mainly CO2, though.
Oh, yeah, you're right. What is Mars's atmosphere? Like, what would you be breathing in if you breathed in?
Almost completely CO2.
And you can't do that.
No. There's a little bit of like methane and oxygen and stuff like that. I think if memory serves, like 90-some% CO2.
That's why Mark Watney had to wear that mask while he was there. And then they had to launch him into space, but they had to take everything off of the thing because it weighed too much.
Right. I mean, in theory, you could potentially, start terraforming Mars.
What is that?
You just like basically making it habitable for humans.
Got it. If
you can get plants and stuff to start going where, it sucks in the CO2 and outputs oxygen and other stuff over a very long period, make it potentially habitable.
Well, you know who did prove that is possible?
Mark Watney.
Mark Watney did.
With poop and potatoes.
With poop and potatoes. What a guy, man. True American hero, Mark Watney. That's good stuff, John. I didn't put a question about this, but I was wondering if anything had ever landed on Venus, because we obviously know there are rovers on Mars. I don't believe America has ever sent anything, but Russia has sent several crafts that did touch the surface but
didn't last long.
But yeah, burned up. In fact, that has to do with your very last question, and that's why it happened. So the last question about Venus: what is the average surface temperature of Venus? These are all in Fahrenheit. Is it 244? 486, 621, or 847 degrees Fahrenheit.
Huh.
They're all pretty hot.
They are, yeah. Oh, I don't have a good answer, so I'm just going to go with 600. No, let's do 486.
486, that's choice B, 486 degrees Fahrenheit?
Yep. That
is incorrect. It's the hottest one, John. 847 degrees, which is pretty much infathomable. And you may know this. This is the one thing I remembered from like childhood about Venus is that it's like a greenhouse. The atmosphere is so thick there, 100 times thicker than Earth's atmosphere. And that must mean like 1,000,000 times thicker than Mars's atmosphere. And so when sunlight can get into it, but then it heats up the surface and it doesn't get out. Most of it can't get out. So it creates a ton of heat that gets trapped up, builds up really high temperatures. And it is the hottest, it's the slowest and hottest planet in our solar system. It spins very slow. It's very, very hot. So it was funny because I was reading all these facts and then I read about the movies where aliens come from Venus. I'm like, I don't think Venus could support life form.
Right.
Like, it's a little too hot for that. They'd be little demon devils.
Well, not entirely. There is a chance for life there, actually. Not like what we think of, but
potatoes and poop.
Yeah. But I mean, there's like at the hot springs, like at, the fumaroles at Yellowstone.
Yes.
And
yeah.
The hot water vents deep in the ocean. Those are as hot or if not hotter sometimes than Venus.
Interesting.
It's also sometimes very acidic in those environments. And so there are things that do thrive in that. So it's not necessarily life like what we think of, but there could be life on Venus.
It's probably not a cone-shaped Power Ranger monster, but there's a good chance there's some kind of bacteria or microorganism or something along those lines that it goes over my head. But
yeah, I mean, and as far as, Mars and temperature, I mean, it can range anywhere from 35 degrees Celsius. Which would be on the warmer side.
Yeah.
20 degrees Celsius is kind of your standard room temperature, 68 degrees.
Okay.
So 35 is a little bit warmer, all the way down to Actually, it shows Fahrenheit right underneath it, so I'll just look at that. So 95 degrees down to negative 226.
Oh, it can get that cold on Mars?
Yeah, like at the poles.
Wow.
The average is negative 82.
Oh, that's the average temperature of Mars?
Yeah.
It's that cold. 82 minus 82 Celsius. It doesn't really matter at that point. That's cold.
Right.
It's just cold.
And that's mainly because it doesn't have much atmosphere.
So it's just like space air getting in. It's cold.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's cold out there.
There's nothing trapping the heat.
That's fascinating, John, because maybe I'm the only one, but I would think most people think of Mars as a warm place, as a hot place, probably because of the red.
Right, yeah.
It's very cold.
It's not. Yeah.
Well, John, it wasn't your day. It turns out that, I do think that we proved that we do.
They don't know their Mars from Venus.
I think we do know our Mars from our Venus because we just learned about it. But it turns out I know more about Mars than you know about Venus, it appears.
Just a little.
All right. Well, I officially took the lead. So you got some work to do next week. So I've now won 6 episodes. You've won 5, and we've tied on 3. And next week, I was alluding to how excited I am about it. We have a guest. His name is Mark Watney. He's the first man. He's going to talk about his time on Mars. No, we have a guest, my friend Devin, who I've gotten to know over the last few months. And one time during conversation, he just kind of casually drops in. He was like, yeah, when I get like sucked into the internet and I'm just wasting time, I'm watching Bigfoot videos. And I was like, wait, what? But he is well knowledged on everything that has to do with Bigfoot. And I thought that was so fascinating because everybody knows who Bigfoot is and maybe has a general idea. Well, I'm ready to be quizzed on him. And that's what he's going to do next week is quiz you and I on Bigfoot.
Sounds good.
I cannot wait.
It's always fun to talk to an amateur cryptozoologist.
Is that what it is? Cryptozoologist?
Yep.
I don't have to call him Dr. Cryptozoologist though, do I?
Not unless he has a doctor.
Not unless he has a doctor. I'll call him Professor, even though he probably doesn't have that either. All right, well, that'll be next week.
Don't forget, you can always go join us over at lackofgenius.com/page or patreon.com/lackofgenius.
Yes.
You can go to lackofgenius.com. Check out the popcorn. I understand if you don't want to pay the price. I get that, but if you do, it's there.
It's definitely worthwhile to pay a few extra bucks for popcorn. And it was reasonable. It's not like it was that bad, but if it's supporting something good. So I'm glad to support it, and good luck on that bottle rocket building. I hope one of those ends up on Mars or Venus.
Never know.
It's the Lack of Genius podcast in your ear holes at last. They don't know their Mars from Venus. That's why it's the Lack of Genius podcast.
No, Uranus is pretty big. I couldn't even get the sentence out.